The story opens with a young boy being reborn as Noah Arkrat, the 13th imperial prince of the empire. When the emperor discovers that Noah possesses a water affinity, he grants him the territory of Almeria, a region known as the homeland of the Water Clan. Curious about the prince's abilities, the emperor orders a servant to examine Noah's stats. Everyone is left in shock when they see that his water affinity already stands at SS rank. They immediately label him a prodigy. Meanwhile, Noah himself is confused by everything happening around him, though he understands that he has been reincarnated into nobility. We're introduced to the Mir Empire, a prosperous warrior nation nestled within a mountain range. Its capital lies across a wide-open plain, where citizens live calm and stable lives. The emperor has more than 10 children, all known as imperial princes, and they hold great prestige as the most renowned nobles in the land. By the time Noah turns 6, everyone continues to believe his water affinity remains at SS rank. However, when he personally checks his status, it appears differently. He notices that his affinity increased after being granted Almeria, and his overall stats improved once he hired additional maids. From this, he deduces that his strength grows as he gains more subordinates. Even more surprising, he discovers he has no level cap, meaning there is no limit to how powerful he can become. His maids admire him for his calm and mature demeanor, often praising how composed he is for his age. One maid, Evelyn, informs him that the crown prince and the 4th prince have come to visit. Noah steps out to greet them. Crown Prince Albert announces they have brought him a gift. Suddenly, a heavy, ominous presence fills the room as a servant carries in a weapon chest. At Albert's command, the box is opened. In that instant, Noah hears phantom screams as he lays eyes on the cursed sword, Leviathan. Albert instructs him to pick it up. Knowing he cannot reject a present from the crown prince, Noah reluctantly accepts. Albert explains that Leviathan is the Empire's most powerful water magic sword, and more than 100 individuals have lost their lives attempting to control it. The 4th prince, Henry, casually adds that those people died the moment they tried to lift it. Albert believes Noah, with his SS rank water affinity, might be capable of wielding it and admits he enjoyed observing the outcome. Noah quickly understands that this was all a test. As they depart, Henry questions whether Albert made the right choice, considering the sword's immense value. Albert dismisses the concern, claiming it belongs in the hands of a genius like Noah, and cryptically remarks that it will teach him what it feels like to be bitten by his own past. Later that evening, Noah notices his maid, Zoe, seems troubled. Though she insists she's fine, he presses her gently until she confesses the truth. A devastating flood has destroyed her hometown of Doso, leaving her mother unemployed. With no income, her relatives are pressuring her to work in the red light district to survive. Noah is deeply disturbed by this. He immediately offers her mother employment at his mansion, promising a salary of 10 Ri per month, which Zoe feels is far too generous. He also mentions that he owns an unused house on the western edge of the capital where she and her mother can live. Overcome with gratitude, Zoe breaks into tears as she thanks him. Privately, Noah reflects that he cannot allow Zoe to enter the red light district, as it would damage his reputation if people discovered she once served him. More importantly, he genuinely wants her to remain by his side. He summons his butler, Dylan, and instructs him to purchase as much land as possible in Doso. Noah anticipates that swindlers will exploit the disaster victims, and he wants to prevent that. Dylan is astonished by how foresighted Noah is, especially since he has never handled such matters before, though in reality, Noah recalls experiencing something similar in his previous life. Dylan raises the issue of funding, explaining that they would require 700,000 Ren, an enormous sum considering the average citizen in the capital earns only 120 Ri per year, and even Noah's retainers receive just 8,000 annually. After calculating their assets, Noah determines his household possesses 500,000, leaving a deficit of 200,000. He orders Dylan to sell the southern lands to cover the difference. Dylan hesitates, reminding him that the territory was a gift from the emperor and cannot be sold so easily. Noah calmly states he is prepared to accept any punishment from his father, insisting that nobles must sacrifice for their people and ensure their happiness. Touched by his resolve, especially since Doso is Dylan's own hometown, the butler agrees to carry out the command. As Noah prepares to depart, Henry approaches and asks where he is headed. Noah explains that he plans to inspect Doso personally before completing the purchase. Henry inquires whether he intends to use Leviathan. Noah responds that he has no immediate intention of wielding it, but may test it someday. Curious about Henry's private visit, Noah listens as he reveals that he investigated what Albert had said. According to the findings, Leviathan possesses a will of its own and obeys only the one it acknowledges as its true master. Realizing he must earn the sword's approval, Noah takes the warning seriously. Henry cautions him that attempting to use it could very well cost him his life. When Noah and his group arrive in Doso, he quickly assumes that many villagers must have lost their land deeds during the flood. Because of that, he concludes the safest way to purchase property is by relying on the official government records. Dylan heads to the administrative office to handle the paperwork. As they walk through the area, they notice relief workers handing out food. However, after tasting it, Noah realizes the soup is nearly inedible. A villager remarks that they have no choice but to accept it because survival comes first. The local official Gerald inspects the meal and casually claims there's nothing wrong with it. Noah bluntly questions whether Geralt is receiving bribes. Since Gerald doesn't recognize Noah, he arrogantly replies that taking a little compensation for their generosity is only fair. The others side with him, mocking Noah as if they've just educated a naive child. But Noah calmly states that what they're doing is outright corruption. Offended, Geralt prepares to put him in his place. At that moment, Noah reflects that Geralt is no different from Leviathan. Both prey on the powerless. Suddenly, the cursed sword flies to his side. He senses its anger, realizing it disliked being compared to someone like Geralt. Noah commands it to demonstrate its true strength. The blade releases overwhelming power, and Noah understands just how insignificant he is in comparison. He then tells the sword to use that strength for the sake of the people. In that instant, Leviathan acknowledges him as its master and allows him to wield it. Without hesitation, Noah executes Geralt. The guards move to apprehend him, but Leviathan summons a massive surge of water that crashes into the ground, leaving behind a huge crater and halting everyone in fear. Suddenly, Rowan, the ruler overseeing the region, arrives. Recognizing Noah as the 13th imperial prince, he immediately kneels. Rowan reveals he serves under Prince Henry and commands everyone present to show proper respect to royalty. Noah informs Rowan that he has already punished Geralt for his crimes, but the chefs responsible for the poor food remain unpunished. He instructs Rowan to deal with them accordingly and to restart the food distribution properly, this time enriching the soup with sufficient ingredients. Rowan pledges to carry out the orders. The villagers rejoice at the promise of decent meals and praise Noah openly, while Zoe looks at him with renewed admiration. News of the incident reaches Albert, who is stunned that Noah managed to tame Leviathan. He begins to see Noah as even more valuable than he previously believed. Soon after, the Emperor summons Noah. Expecting reprimand, Noah prepares himself for punishment. Instead, the Emperor expresses gratitude for eliminating those who exploited disaster victims, remarking that he would have personally intervened had he known. Noah humbly says it was merely coincidence that he encountered them. The Emperor, however, is fully aware that Noah has become Leviathan's master and orders another evaluation of his stats. To everyone's amazement, his water affinity has advanced to SSS rank. the emperor praises his growth and urges him to continue using his abilities for the benefit of the empire. Later, Noah travels to the capital after hearing from the eunuchs about a renowned singer performing there. He visits a theater and watches a performer named Alice, thoroughly enjoying her singing. Suddenly, a gang of thugs storms in and disrupts the show. The theater owner attempts to intervene, but is shoved aside. The gang leader reminds Alice that she still owes money for her father's debts. Claiming that singing won't cover the amount, he suggests she should sell her body instead. Noah steps forward and firmly states that forcing a child into such acts to repay a parent's debt is illegal. The thug leader grabs him, but Noah defends himself, using Leviathan. Intimidated, the gang retreats, vowing revenge. Noah instructs the theater owner to bring the thugs directly to him if they return. He then asks Alice about her financial situation. She explains that her expenses are heavy because she is paying for her mother's medical care. Noah offers her a monthly payment of 25 rein to continue performing and assures her that her wages will increase as her talent improves. Grateful and relieved, she happily accepts his offer. When Noah returns to his mansion, he finds the same thugs waiting outside, claiming they've come to apologize. However, he tells Evelyn to send them away, stating that a prince cannot grant an audience whenever common troublemakers demand it. Later, Henry affirms that Noah made the correct choice, explaining that royalty must maintain proper boundaries, as casually meeting such individuals could damage their authority and reputation. However, Noah explains that sending the thugs away wasn't only about royal dignity. He brings Henry into his private room and tells him about Alice. He says he deliberately acted furious so the thugs would believe they had angered him beyond forgiveness, hoping fear would keep them from bothering her again. Henry is impressed by his foresight, commenting that their other brothers around Noah's age lack that level of maturity. Noah simply replies that wisdom comes with time and experience. It's revealed that the imperial princes were born to different mothers, and siblings who share the same mother tend to be closer. Henry then shifts the conversation to Leviathan, curious about how Noah carries such a dangerous weapon so casually. Noah demonstrates by drawing it out and explaining that Leviathan taught him how to alter its size, allowing him to conceal it within his sleeve. That night, the thugs still linger outside, waiting for a chance to speak with him. Their leader grows impatient and starts shouting for Noah. In response, Noah subtly channels Leviathan's power as a warning, terrifying the thug into silence while his companions urge him to stay quiet and avoid provoking the prince further. Later, Noah encounters a nobleman named Reincarnated, who escorts him into a gathering of aristocrats. The moment he enters, everyone recognizes him as the 13th imperial prince. Reincarnated asks about the sword at his side. Noah calmly states that it was a gift from the crown prince, and the room immediately realizes it is the national treasure, Leviathan. One man scoffs, suggesting it must be a replica, but the uncomfortable stares from the others quickly silence him in embarrassment. Leviathan suddenly reacts with hostility, releasing a surge of pressure toward the nobles. Noah restrains it with ease, earning their admiration for being able to control such a weapon. The nobles begin introducing themselves. Reincarnated mentions that he attended with his daughter. Noah, however, observes her closely and concludes she is adopted. He explains that her posture and alertness resembled that of someone once enslaved. Impressed by Noah's sharp perception, Reincarnated admits he had purchased her as a slave, but later chose to adopt her after recognizing her intelligence and potential. Noah finds their story intriguing and invites them to visit his mansion in the future. As they depart, other nobles watch with envy, clearly jealous that Noah acknowledged them. Noah then tells Reincarnated there was another reason he suspected the girl's past. When he releases a faint pulse of Leviathan's power, she instinctively reacts protectively, positioning herself to guard her father. Noah explains that noble daughters are typically the ones shielded, not the ones acting as protectors. The following day, Noah meets the 8th prince, Oscar, who invites him to explore Cobalt Street for treasures. The street is filled with antiques from across the empire. Oscar warns him that most of the items are counterfeit and says that a true noble should be able to distinguish genuine artifacts from fakes. They browse the stalls, and while Oscar finds nothing noteworthy, Noah notices an unusual book and purchases it for 3 coins. Oscar soon realizes the book is actually a legendary sorcerer's grimoire, a priceless artifact worth at least 1,000 Re. He wonders how no one else recognized its value. In truth, Noah had no prior knowledge. He only noticed that his wind affinity increased slightly when he touched it. That signaled that the object possessed a will of its own. Believing that only sentient beings can alter his stats, Noah prepares to pierce the book with his sword. Dark energy erupts from its pages, manifesting the sealed soul of the sorcerer. Oscar suggests retreating, knowing the sorcerer was a master of wind magic, but Noah counters immediately, unleashing Leviathan's water power and destroying the spirit. Oscar is surprised that none of the surrounding buildings were harmed. Noah explains that he aimed his attack upward to minimize collateral damage. Oscar is impressed by how quickly he made that decision. Soon after, a merchant named Alan approaches Noah, requesting his assistance in evaluating a mysterious item. He brings them to his shop and presents a ring rumored to reveal its true form when worn by its rightful owner. Alan explains that despite showing it to countless customers, it never reacted. He even attempted to discard it several times, yet it always returned to his store. Convinced it must hold some secret, Oscar encourages Noah to try it on. When Noah slips the ring onto his finger, it immediately recognizes him and transforms into a suit of armor. He notes that it doesn't affect his stats, meaning it lacks independent will. He offers to purchase it, but Oscar insists on paying and presents it to Noah as a gift. Later, as Noah steps down from Oscar's carriage, the thug leader suddenly launches an attack. Instantly, the ring activates and shields Noah automatically, while the carriage driver subdues the attacker. Oscar asks how Noah reacted so swiftly. Noah explains that he linked the ring to Leviathan, allowing it to detect danger and respond on its own. That evening, Noah returns to the theater to watch Alice perform again. During the show, 2 men begin arguing over who will have a drink with her, escalating into a confrontation. Noah intervenes, drawing Leviathan just enough to humiliate and intimidate them into retreating. The theater owner apologizes for the disturbance, grateful that the situation didn't worsen. Noah suggests that the theater owner should refuse entry to troublesome customers like those men, but the owner explains that without patrons, his business would collapse. Hearing that, Noah offers to purchase the entire theater for 1,000 Rin. The owner eagerly agrees. Alice, overwhelmed by everything Noah has done for her, asks how she could ever repay him. Noah simply tells her to continue singing since he genuinely enjoys her voice. He believes she has great potential and even hopes that one day the Emperor himself will attend one of her performances. Until that time comes, he encourages her to dedicate herself completely to her craft. Returning to his seat, he listens as she delivers an extraordinary performance, thinking that none of the other treasures in the capital compare to her talent. Later, while in his room, Noah is informed by his attendants that a visitor has arrived. He permits him to enter and meets Dredd, the Governor General of Hanzhou. The Emperor had assigned Dredd the task of overseeing flood control in his province, but Noah immediately senses that the situation is not improving. Hanzhou, a fertile grain-producing region in Almeria, located near a massive river, frequently suffers from flooding. The Emperor ordered Dredd to resolve the recurring problem, yet progress has stalled. When Noah asks why, Dredd explains that the Ministry of Finance has withheld the necessary funds, repeatedly offering excuses. Determined to uncover the truth, Noah visits Maverick, the head of the Ministry of Finance, and questions him directly about the delayed funding. Maverick claims that Hanzhou hasn't paid taxes since the Emperor granted them tax exemption following last year's flood damage. He suggests that they should still have leftover funds from that exemption and should use those instead, requesting additional money. Noah firmly refutes this, stating that Hanzhou has no reserves precisely because of the repeated disasters. He reminds Maverick that the tax exemption was granted because the region was in no condition to contribute, not because it was financially secure. Pressing him further, Noah demands honesty. Maverick eventually admits that the treasury is prioritizing funds for constructing the emperor's vacation residence. Noah immediately calls out his actions as a crime against the imperial family. He accuses Maverick of using the emperor's name as a shield while denying essential aid to suffering citizens. Noah warns him that he will personally report this misconduct if the funds are not released at once. Faced with the threat, Maverick orders his staff to transfer the money to Hanzhou immediately. Dredd is astonished that Noah managed to force compliance through sheer resolve and negotiation alone. He praises Noah's leadership before departing to begin proper flood control efforts. Soon after, Noah receives word that the emperor wishes to see him. At the palace, the emperor commends him for handling Maverick's corruption. Noah responds modestly, saying he merely did what he believed was right. The emperor acknowledges that dealing with dishonest officials is no easy task and expresses admiration that a 6-year-old could accomplish what seasoned adults struggle with. He also remarks on the significance of Noah mastering Leviathan, aware of the sword's grim and dangerous history, believing Noah must learn to control its power properly. The emperor introduces him to Damien, the empire's greatest swordsman, and proposes that Noah train under him. However, Damien insists on testing Noah immediately. Damien draws his blade and challenges him. As Noah prepares to engage, memories from Leviathan's former wielders suddenly flood his mind. Empowered by their experience, he launches forward. Damien attempts to defend himself, but Noah executes a precise technique that disarms him, recognizing that he owes his victory to the accumulated skill of Leviathan's past masters. Noah remains composed. Damien concedes defeat and tells the emperor that he has nothing left to teach Noah, admitting that he cannot match the boy's ability. The emperor realizes that Noah is not just talented, he is a prodigy with the sword. Impressed, the emperor appoints Noah as the head judge for the upcoming knight selection examination, declaring him uniquely suited for the role. Noah accepts the responsibility, understanding the magnitude of the task. Warriors from across the empire will compete in regional preliminaries for a chance to advance to the capital, where the strongest will battle for the championship. The winner will ascend into the upper ranks of society as a knight. As head judge, Noah's initial responsibility is to select a capable subordinate to assist him. Privately, he considers that choosing the most exceptional fighter may also strengthen his own abilities, since his power grows through those who serve under him. Damien informs Noah that, as head judge, he has the authority to determine the structure of the competition. Taking advantage of that power, Noah asks his father to abolish the regional preliminaries altogether, stating that he wants every stage of the evaluation to take place in the capital under his direct supervision. Soon after, Zoe mentions that Doso typically sends only one participant to the exam each year because the villagers can barely afford the travel and accommodation costs. Wanting to give more people a fair opportunity, Noah decides to personally cover those expenses. He instructs Dylan to purchase any vacant houses available and coordinate with merchants in the capital so everything will be prepared when the candidates arrive. Later, Noah speaks with Byron and questions why his services are being offered at such a low price. Byron claims he provided a massive discount out of respect for the 13th prince. However, Noah immediately sees through the excuse, knowing that merchants rarely act out of pure generosity. He presses Byron to reveal his true intention. Surprised that Noah uncovered his motives so easily, Byron confesses that he wants assistance with the upcoming palace employment exam. He hopes the emperor will hire a certain girl he supports and mentions that he has already sent a token of appreciation. Noah agrees to recommend her, but only if he personally finds her worthy. Byron promises to present a candidate who meets his expectations. He then asks permission to display Noah's crest on his store sign to elevate his status. Noah understands that Byron is essentially asking to become his subordinate and warns him clearly that betrayal will not be tolerated. That evening, as Noah rides in a carriage, he notices his stats have increased since accepting Byron as a subordinate. However, he suddenly realizes his water affinity has decreased slightly. Concluding that something must be wrong in Almeria, he immediately informs the emperor that trouble is brewing there. The emperor is surprised at how Noah sensed it so quickly, but a report soon confirms his suspicion. A rebellion has erupted in Almeria. The emperor asks Noah how severe he believes it is. Judging by the change in his stats, Noah estimates the uprising is still relatively small. The emperor confirms that there are approximately 5,000 rebels. He asks Noah whether he wishes to handle the situation personally, but Noah knows that soldiers would not follow someone so young in battle. Instead, he suggests that one of his older brothers should lead the campaign. When asked whom he recommends, Noah names Henry, believing him to be the most level-headed among his siblings. Not long after, Noah travels with Henry by carriage. Suddenly, Leviathan senses hostility nearby. Noah orders the driver to halt at once. Realizing the attackers are targeting him specifically and not wanting Henry caught in the crossfire, Noah leaps out of the carriage. The assailants trap him using water magic, attempting to finish him quickly. However, he breaks free from their restraint. Recognizing their techniques, he concludes they must be rebels from Almeria. Though they attempt to overwhelm him, Noah defeats them with ease. Their leader is stunned that they were overcome by a mere child. Henry, impressed, expresses regret that he couldn't interrogate them. Noah reassures him that the rebels are still alive. He merely used Leviathan's pressure to render them unconscious. The following day, Noah meets Byron again and quietly informs him about the rebellion, emphasizing that it must remain confidential. Understanding that the rebels rely heavily on cavalry, Noah orders Byron to purchase all available horse feed in Almeria. His goal is not to starve the people, but to weaken the enemy's horses and cripple their mobility. Byron praises the cleverness of the strategy and vows to execute it immediately. Noah reflects that this will make Henry's campaign significantly easier. Later, the emperor reports that the captured rebels provided valuable intelligence. They had intended to kidnap Noah and use him as leverage in negotiations. The emperor commends him for subduing them and calls the strategy of cutting off the rebels' horse supply ingenious. He reveals that Albert had proposed starving the rebels outright. But Noah explains that doing so would have turned the citizens of Almeria against the empire. Targeting the horses instead would avoid civilian resentment while weakening the enemy forces. The emperor acknowledges Noah's foresight, deeply impressed by his strategic thinking. Impressed by Noah's achievements, the emperor chooses to honor him by adding a sword to his family crest. This distinction is one of the highest recognitions a noble can receive, symbolizing true warrior status, and only the emperor himself has the authority to grant it. Not long after, Byron provides Noah with information about the rebel leader, describing him as someone ruthless enough to do whatever it takes to accomplish his ambitions. During their discussion, Evelyn informs Noah that an injured man has arrived at the estate gates. Noah goes to see him and learns that he is a cavalry officer from Almeria. The officer explains that when the rebellion began, he refused to support it and instead fled to report the matter. Although Byron realizes the report offers nothing new, since Noah already knew of the uprising. Noah still thanks the officer sincerely and instructs Evelyn to treat his wounds. He even rewards the man with 5,000 renais. Byron is puzzled by such generosity, but Noah explains that loyalty deserves to be acknowledged and compensated. Later, Zoe approaches Noah's office looking visibly shaken. Concerned, he asks, "What's wrong?" She reveals that the rebels paid her 500 rin to secretly slip a sleeping drug into his drink. they intended to capture him once he lost consciousness. Through tears, she assures him she would never betray him after all he has done for her. However, she confesses that the rebels threatened to kill her if she refused to cooperate. Noah decides to reward her loyalty with 5,000 Renee as well. Though grateful, Zoe is confused when Noah calmly gives her further instructions. He tells her to go along with the rebels' plan after he consumes the drug and hand him over as they expect. But he also knows they would eliminate her afterward to erase loose ends. So he orders her to flee and hide once the exchange is complete. Soon, Noah awakens inside a moving carriage, confirming he has been abducted. Without panic, he activates his ring to free himself and summons Leviathan. He asks the sword to share its memories, piecing together what happened. He realizes the rebels took him exactly as planned and that Zoe escaped safely. Everything is unfolding according to his strategy. He then confronts the rebels, who assume he broke free because they tied the ropes carelessly. They underestimate him, mocking him as nothing more than a child. Noah swiftly cuts one of them down, ridiculing them for being mere pawns. Enraged, the rest attack together, but he dispatches them effortlessly. Soon after, Zoe arrives with a unit of knights. She apologizes for disobeying his instructions, admitting she summoned the knights because she feared for his safety. The knights are astonished to find the rebels already defeated and await Noah's orders. He instructs their captain to handle the remaining captives. As he lifts one of the fallen rebels, a sword slips from the man's grasp. Noah immediately warns everyone not to approach it, sensing a sinister aura. He recognizes it as a cursed blade infused with the rebel leader's hatred. Realizing he can trace its connection, he channels Leviathan's power and releases a beam of energy into the sky. The attack streaks across the distance and fatally strikes the rebel leader. The following day, the Emperor learns of the incident and praises Noah for eliminating the bandit chief. With their leader dead, the Almeria rebels fall into disarray and are easily subdued by Henry's forces. Soon, the captured rebels are brought before the imperial court, where the Emperor must determine their punishment. Furious over their attempt to harm Noah, he initially orders a brutal execution, having them drawn and quartered by horses and cattle as an example to others. However, Noah steps forward and respectfully objects. He reminds the Emperor that rebels must be punished according to established law, which prescribes a different method of execution. If the Emperor himself disregards the law, it could weaken the authority of the throne and invite doubt about his rule. After reflecting on Noah's reasoning, the Emperor concedes and commends him for preventing a rash decision. Still, he insists that the rebels receive the maximum punishment permitted under the law. Noah agrees, satisfied that justice will be carried out properly without compromising the empire's principles. The Emperor assigns the first Prime Minister, Nas, to oversee the matter and ensure everything is handled properly. The court openly praises Noah for respectfully correcting the Emperor's impulsive decision. Impressed, the Emperor announces that while all of his children may advise him, it takes exceptional ability to point out his errors wisely. Wanting the people to recognize Noah's intelligence, he bestows upon him the title of Wise Prince, even remarking that he wishes Noah had been born sooner. The hall erupts in applause, curious about his next responsibility. The Emperor asks how Noah intends to conduct the knight selection exam. Noah replies that he already has a method in mind. Stepping outside, he instructs his attendants to throw water at him. Instantly, his ring activates and shields him from getting wet. He explains that during the exam, the participants will attack him directly, and he will judge them based on how close they can get to breaching his defense. The Emperor finds the idea efficient and straightforward, though he warns it carries some risk if a contestant manages to break through. Noah calmly assures him that he can handle it. Later, the Emperor tells Ness that Noah's gifts are truly extraordinary. Aware of Leviathan's immense power, he orders crews to bring forth the sword's true seal. According to legend, that seal must never be broken, but the Emperor believes Noah is capable of wielding the blade at its full strength. When the night selection exam begins, it draws massive crowds. In a warrior nation like theirs, military strength is the primary path to status and honor, making this event the largest annual spectacle in the empire. It is also unprecedented for a prince to serve as head judge, so the public gathers eagerly to witness Noah. The first contender charges at him with full force, but Noah's ring effortlessly blocks the strike and even shatters the man's weapon. The audience quickly realizes that simply touching him will be nearly impossible. Cruz remarks that this year's examination is far more thrilling than those in the past. Meanwhile, the emperor wonders what type of warrior Noah is seeking. Another participant unleashes a blast of flames, yet it fails to make any impact. As the day wears on, Noah grows dissatisfied, feeling that none of the candidates have shown exceptional promise. Just before the event concludes, the final participant, a girl named Shirley, steps forward. To everyone's surprise, she manages to pierce his defense and strike his shoulder. Shocked at herself, she apologizes immediately as guards rush to restrain her, assuming she will be punished. Instead, Noah orders the guards to release her and calmly declares that she has passed. Later, he questions her about her armor, and she explains that it has been passed down through her family for generations. Nervously, she asks if she will be punished for injuring him. Noah reminds her that he commanded the contestants to attack him, so she bears no fault. He then instructs her to thrust at him once more. She charges again with determination, but this time his ring blocks the attack completely. Confused, she wonders why she cannot break through now. Noah explains that he was no longer holding back and reveals that he had been testing her resolve. He needs a knight who does not hesitate out of fear. The fact that she attacked him again, even after wounding him, proved her courage. Moved by his words, Shirley vows to serve him for the rest of her life. Though Noah notices her dramatic bow resembles something from a stage play, he is pleased to see that accepting her as a subordinate significantly boosts his stats. Afterward, the doctor tends to his shoulder wound. Shirley watches in amazement at how efficiently it is treated and admits that her village has no physicians. Curious, Noah asks how they handle illness or injury. She explains that elders simply pray over the sick, which the doctor confirms is common in impoverished areas. Realizing that the quickest path to becoming a doctor is through apprenticeship, Noah instructs Shirley to bring the brightest individuals from her village to train under his physician. He promises to fund their education and expenses, determined to ensure her village has proper medical care. Overwhelmed by his generosity, Shirley expresses her heartfelt gratitude. Noah tells Shirley that before anything else, she must learn proper court etiquette from the other knights. She doesn't even bow correctly yet. The following day, Shirley and Zoe overhear the maids gossiping about Noah, speculating about which girl he might eventually choose. Shirley reminds them that he's only 6 years old, but they respond that several of the other princes were already engaged or married before turning 15. It's revealed that young women have started gathering at cafes near the mansion, hoping to catch his attention. The maids tease Zoe, insisting she must be in love with him. She denies it, though they point out she's recently begun studying magic. They assume she's doing it to get closer to him, but Zoe explains she only wants to become more capable as his attendant. Serving him faithfully, she says, is more than enough for her. Later, a knight brings Noah the official report from the selection exam, informing him that the newly chosen knights are exceptional. Noah signs the documents and instructs Shirley to escort the knight out. As the knight prepares to leave, Shirley bows deeply in gratitude for his guidance. He gently tells her there's no need for excessive formality between fellow knights and realizes Noah likely asked her to see him out so she could observe and learn proper conduct. That evening, Alice performs at a celebration. Byron approaches Noah to congratulate him on the success of the selection exam. Noah politely tells Byron to enjoy the festivities and mingle with the other guests. During the party, Zoe hands Noah a letter addressed specifically to him, mentioning that the messenger delivered it and fled immediately. Suspecting it contains sensitive information, Noah reads it. The message reveals that the remnants of the Almeria rebels are mobilizing again. He deduces that the sender must be operating undercover, most likely the same soldier who had previously reported the rebellion. Zoe wonders if the soldier felt compelled to send another report because he realized his earlier one was unnecessary. Noah, however, understands the danger the man faces. If the rebels discover his betrayal, his life will be in jeopardy. Knowing Henry is still stationed in Omaria, Noah decides to request his assistance in fully crushing the uprising. Sometime later, another report arrives. Henry has located the soldier, but the man is gravely injured, tortured after being exposed by the rebels. Noah feels a heavy sense of guilt, believing that if he had acted faster, the soldier might not have suffered so severely. Determined to save him, Noah orders Zoe to send word to Almeria that he will spare no expense to ensure the man survives. Wanting to show gratitude to Henry for suppressing the rebellion, Noah visits the marketplace in search of a gift. A merchant displays various items, but none capture his interest. Eventually, the merchant presents a stunning glass statue crafted by a renowned artisan. He explains that glass sculpting has become a lost art and only 2 such statues remain in existence. Noah agrees to purchase it for 10,000 renais. At that moment, Oscar arrives and immediately recognizes the statue. He reveals that he owns the only other one in the world. To everyone's shock, Noah suddenly shatters the statue in the shop. Calmly, he assures the stunned merchant that he will still pay the full price and instructs him to spread the news that the piece has been destroyed. Oscar quickly understands Noah's reasoning. By eliminating one, he has doubled the rarity and value of the remaining statue. Impressed, Oscar admits he wasn't nearly this sharp at Noah's age. After Oscar leaves, Noah tells the merchant he will select a different present instead. The merchant eagerly offers more options. On the way back, Shirley tells Noah she now understands why he broke the statue, though she believes he could have simply kept it since it was such a rare treasure. Noah responds that it was merely an object. To him, the true treasures are the people who remain loyal by his side, and he tells Shirley she is one of them. Hearing this, she realizes how deeply he values his followers. To her, he resembles the noble and virtuous rulers she once saw portrayed in theater performances. From that moment on, she resolves to devote herself completely to serving him for the rest of her life. 6 years pass, and Noah is now 12. And with that, Episode 5 wraps up. The adventure is far from over, and the next chapter will reveal even more surprises. Stay connected and get ready for what comes next.